Dr. Nic Gill, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Mate, I'm so pleased we made this happen. You and I have only met a couple of times. You messaged me out of the blue maybe 2 years ago about, I think you saw on Instagram I had some knee issues, and you messaged me and we had a session together in Tauranga, which was really nice of you.
Yeah, no, I thought I might be able to help you a little bit, mate, and you're a mad runner, so yeah, we've got a bit in common. Yeah.
As are you, as well as being the All Blacks strength and conditioning coach, you dabble in Ironman events and triathlon and...
I dabble. I sort of do one a year. I try to keep myself honest. So, yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah. So, exactly what is a strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah, well, it's changed a bit since I started. When I started, it was, you help players or athletes get strong. You made sure they were fit. And it was very much writing a program for each person, each player. Now it's obviously evolved. The athletes are more professional. They know more. They've got more knowledge, and the expectations as a professional has gone through the roof. So I'm sort of, I don't know. I'm responsible for ensuring that the players and the team are ready to rock and roll come Saturday night for a test match. So, that includes, I lead a team of a nutritionist, doctor, physios, sports scientists, and as a group we sort of look after all the details that come into performance. So what you eat, what you don't eat, sleep education, how much you're lifting in the gym, how fast you're lifting in the gym, how much running you're doing on the field, all that. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of things we do in a day to lead to a performance, and I sort of oversee that stuff.
So you're sort of like the personal trainer for all the All Blacks?
Yep. Yeah.
Shit, it's a big job. And you've been doing it for such a long time. Like you, I think Colin Meads was captain. You started in 2008. So there was the 2007.
Yep.
You're at the Chiefs for 5 years.
Yep.
And then you started so there's the 2007 World Cup, which Richie was captain and Graham Henry was coach. And then you start the year after that.
Yep.
Who was the previous strength and conditioning guy?
Graham Lowe. He was from the Blues. And I actually helped Lowe out in 2004 with the All Blacks. But, he left and went to one of the America's Cup teams. Yeah, so the position became vacant. So a few of us threw our names in the hat, and, I was lucky enough to be picked.
How have you kept the job for so long? Because you think every time there's a coaching change, the thing would be to stamp your mark and get your own sort of team of key personnel around you. Is it just love and support of the players?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm like a cockroach, I suppose. I'm hard to get rid of. But I'd like to think that I've kept my job because I'm doing a good job. And I think if I remember Graham Henry said to me after my second year, he said, "No news is good news," and that there was no feedback in a negative, which means you're doing a good job. And I think the players are the key here. Like, I'm the in between the coaches and the players, and I suppose if the players feel like you're helping them be better, then they want to keep you there. And likewise, the coaches. There has been some transitions of coaches, and I've been lucky enough to carry on through those different coaching groups. But there's a lot of us that have carried on to a point, and so we did have a period of time we were very successful, and so tend not to make too many changes when things are going well.
Yeah, if it ain't broke. But so do all the Super Rugby teams have their own S&C?
100%. So the sort of the structure of our staff and the All Blacks is pretty similar to the structure of a Super Rugby team. So all Super Rugby teams have a couple of physios, a doctor, a nutritionist, sports scientists, interns. So it's very, very similar across any professional sporting team, to be fair. You have a team of people that are responsible for the physical performance and health of the athletes.
Yeah. So Scott Robertson's becoming the All Black coach this year. Very, very successful with the Crusaders. You must have been thinking, I'm going to get the arse.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I actually stopped on my way home from the tour at the end of 2022. I stopped off in Chicago to start talking to people over there to look at a job in American sport. So it was very much what do I do? Do I wait? Do I not? So a lot of uncertainty for sure.
But you've signed on. You're there for the next wee while.
Yep. No, so lucky enough to carry on, and actually really excited, really grateful that I'm carrying on again. I love the team, love what I do, and as I said, it's sort of I seem to be sticking around a bit, and and hopefully I can stick around for a bit longer.
Yeah. What's your test count? What is it? 200?
And 12.
212.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the biggest changes between when you started in 2007 and now?
Loads of changes. Yeah, there's massive changes. Like rugby's only been professional since '96, so it's only been 28 years or something since players first became professional and got paid okay money, but also were expected to train and prepare full time. And so, I started in rugby in 2000 down in Hamilton, down in Waikato, and everyone had full time jobs, and you'd train morning and night, and you'd play club rugby, and it was all sort of very, very amateurish. So, we were still having fish and chips in the change room after training on a Tuesday night. It was sort of still very much, didn't matter what you ate sort of thing. Nowadays, athletes are fueling to perfection. They're counting their calories, they're counting their macros, so how much protein they're having in each meal. They're making sure they're going to bed at the right time to get enough quality sleep. And they love training, like 2000 and even back in 2008, like athletes, the players weren't necessarily loving training. Nowadays, they love it so much you have to try and pull them back a bit, from doing too much. So it's lots of changes. Like players have gone from, I think the average size prop for the All Blacks this year might be around, 133 kilos. Average size prop when I started was 112 kilos. So the size of the players has gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And they're as fit, as fast, and stronger. So the needs of the in the game, the physical demands in the game are just keep changing, keep evolving, and so there's lots of change.
There's so much to get into with you today. I'm so excited about it because you've seen so much, like you've been around for such a long time. But one thing which I never really considered or even thought about with you and your job until I started thinking about this chat is the personal sacrifice involved. Yeah, you're a family man. You've got your wife Mel and your daughters Olivia and Grace, and just the amount of time that you must have to spend away from them.
Yeah, it's definitely probably one of the most challenging parts of the gig. It's time away because your winter you spend the time in the hotel with the team, travelling the world with the team, and so you're sort of only home when there's not a game on. And so I think this year we've got 15 tests, and I think I'm home for about 5 weeks out of 5 months, something like that.
Wow.
So no, it is tough. It's very tough to get the balance between time away, time at home, when you are home, being present, when you're away, not burning the candle and doing too much. So then when you do get home, you're cooked. It's not easy, definitely not easy. And Mel will always keep trying to pull me into line and check me. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge always.
How old are the girls now?
Girls have left home now, 23 and 19.
Oh, okay. Oh, sweet.
So
you're an empty nester.
It's way different now that they're not home. And it was harder when they were really young, and then it was harder when they were old. It was easy being away when they're older, but you're so tight that you miss them more because you're friends. You're really close. When they're younger, it's hard on Mel because she's having to do anything by herself. So yeah, it's they're not home anymore. So Mel will travel a bit.
And then what about the off season? Because it's like during the Super Rugby when all the All Blacks are in the Super Rugby teams with their own S&C guy.
Yeah.
What's your role then?
So
is that when you train for your own Ironman events?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it allows me to do some of that stuff. But I'm still busy. Like we're planning campaigns. We're monitoring and tracking players. I was on Zooms yesterday for about 9 hours. With various groups of the All Blacks, with staff from the super clubs, with players. So you're sort of non-stop talking and communicating and sharing ideas because the All Blacks don't just start 10 days out from playing England. We're going from the time the players start playing in February. We're tracking, we're having conversations, we're watching them play, we're watching them train. We're helping the medical teams around decision making, around injuries and things. So it's sort of non-stop, but it's just not full time. It's probably 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and you're at home. So I work from home during the off season, so that makes up for all that time being away.
And then this might be a dumb question, but it's just something I was thinking about the last few days. So do you before any tour, do you have to go away and like inspect the hotels and the environments you're going to be in, or is there someone else that does a recce?
Yeah. So our manager does a recce. So
Okay.
Moose,
Darren Shand?
so he's moved on, but
Right.
that's what Shandy used to do, and now Moose Paul McLaughlin from Dunedin does that. So travels to all the new hotels and fields we haven't been to before. So we get all that intel early. Often there's choices to be made, which will come down to he'll ring me up to say, hey, there's this hotel, there's this field, there's this gym. Here's the travel time, here's the distances, here's the quality. So we make decisions that are based on performance. What's going to be the best thing for the performance and the preparation for the team, and then we make those decisions and we lock it in. So that stuff all happens in February, March, April, May.
Because it's a lot of gear you guys need. You can't just go to a Jets, can you?
No, but we do. Yeah, no,
You do?
100%. Like if it means not getting a bus for 20 minutes to go across a city, like we used to stay at the Heritage up on Hobson Street there, and we'd go to the gym across the road, which I think was a Jets or Anytime Fitness. It was a 24-hour gym. We'd just pop over there. It was easy. No bus, no trip. So as long as we're not compromising on what we want to do, if it's the easiest thing to do and it's really still going to be effective, then we jump at that stuff. So it's only been the last maybe 7 or 8 years that we go into high performance gyms, pretty much where we go. But again, so long as it's not a big bus trip away.
So when do you do your own personal training, like your Ironman events? Do you just sort of try and do them outside of All Black season?
100%, yeah. I can't do anything during All Black season. I tick it over in All Black season just to stay healthy and to sleep well, to eat well, to look after my own stress. I'll just have my own sort of plan. And so I just tick it over in the All Black season, and then once All Black season's finished, it's summertime in New Zealand, and get on my bike and go for some runs and do some crazy swimming, and
You're mad about it, eh?
I love it.
Actually, towards the end, I've got some Instagram questions, but someone wanted me to ask you about the time you had to run backwards around Mount Maunganui during a half Ironman.
Yeah, man, Matt Driller, eh? Far out.
Was it a cramp or?
Yeah. No, I'm a horrible cramper, and I'm pretty competitive. So that half Ironman, I wasn't very prepared for, and I had a mate doing it, and I just went out a bit hard in the swim, a bit hard on the bike because I'm pretty good on the bike, but the running's my Achilles heel, and got off the bike and went, my legs don't feel too good, and first time around the mount, going downhill, just quads locked up. So I didn't want to stop because my mate was behind me and I didn't want him to beat me, and anyway, he ended up passing me, and the only way I could get around the mountain was walking backwards down the hills. So otherwise the quads would lock up and I couldn't move. So I figured out during the run that I could walk backwards down the hills and I wouldn't cramp. So then I'd jog the flats and then walk backwards down the hills. So it was a tough old day.
Do you have a favourite stadium? I was reading an interview with Aaron Smith, and he says his favourite stadium is the one in Wales, and that's because he had a particularly good game there, a couple of memorable tries, and it was a big win. What about you? What's a memorable stadium for you?
I've probably got 3, probably 4 around the world. Eden Park, love Eden Park. Eden Park's special. It's our home away from home. It's our fortress. There's always an amazing crowd and atmosphere. Love Eden Park. Like Aaron Smith, the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff is pretty special. The roof comes in, 80, 90,000 crazy Welshmen singing. It's special. And it's just down the road from the hotel, so you're right in the mixer. It's pretty cool setup. Twickenham is an amazing place to play. It's essentially the home of rugby, and love going up there because the English are quite cocky around their rugby, and it's a pretty special place to go and win. And then the last one would be probably any of the old stadiums in South Africa. You know, the old stadiums that are just these fortresses where they're built with brick. The stands go vertical, and the South African crowds are just nasty. Like, they just love their rugby so much. You know, you're driving in on a bus out to the ground, and there's all sorts going on outside in the car parks with the barbecues of the braais, and the passion of the South Africans is just huge. So going over there and trying to win is pretty tough. So when you do win, it's really special.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, they're just such crazy experiences you've had. It's
Yeah.
really cool. And you're I've seen so many photos of you with the water boy vest on.
Yeah.
Is that your viewing platform for all the games you've been on, all the tests, like just on the sideline?
Yeah, it has been. I wasn't sure if that was going to continue, but I'm carrying on in that role, which is awesome. I love being on the park. Like, I've been to a few games, Super Rugby games in the last, 10 years or so, excuse me, and watching a game from the stand I enjoy, but compared to being on the sideline, it just doesn't compare. It's pretty exciting being on the sideline. Like, you feel like you're involved in the game without being involved. You know, I'm pretty competitive, so I like us performing. I like being part of the performance, even though I have a really, really small role. So I'm always on the side running water and running messages, so I sort of have an earpiece on between the coach and the players. So sometimes the players will ask me a question to ask the coach, and vice versa. So there's message delivery, which is pretty important, and it makes you feel really, really part of it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, what sort of messaging? What are you talking about? Like,
Well, there's been many messages in my time, but like it could be as simple as the front pod's not marked in a line out. So I might deliver that to the line out leader, and normally the line out leader will say, we've seen that. Mm-hmm. So there's often a suggestion or something to communicate, and it's more often than not the players are already all over it. Likewise, Beauden Barrett might just say, "Hey Gilly, can you check with Foz? But is the backfield clear? Because maybe he's not seen it quick enough." And so it's almost like it's not a dialogue, but there's windows or messages. Sometimes there's no messages. Like, if the team are handling everything in front of them, and seeing opportunities and in control, there's nothing. There's no messages other than pats on the back, But if there's things that aren't quite going right and there's opportunities elsewhere, the coaches might see it and communicate that.
Yeah, on this, I was reading Richie's book yesterday, The Open Side, and you get a sentence in the chapter about the 2011 Rugby World Cup final. The sentence is, "Trainer Nic Gill gives us the call to get back on track, keep getting up." So is that just you, like, geeing up the guys?
Yeah,
like motivating them?
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah. Like I'll be screaming from the sideline, so it won't be a message from the coaches, but I'll be screaming from the sideline. And a few of the players ask me to. Like an Artie Severe will say, "Gilly, keep getting stuck into me." And
in what way? What do you mean?
Oh, like if he's slow to his feet, like he's made a big tackle or he's made a good run and he's slow to his feet and he starts walking. If he hears me, it makes him switch back on, and so he'll often ask me to just get stuck into me if I'm looking a bit slow. Aaron Smith used to be the same, keep encouraging us from the sideline. So whilst it sounds silly, and sometimes it feels a little bit like I'm not achieving much, some of the players enjoy the noise because they hear from the crowd is the yahooing. They don't necessarily hear anything specific. So if they can hear something specific because they're close to me, then I think that's useful.
Also, you've been around for a while and you know all these guys intimately, so you're not like just a dude in the crowd yelling stuff out.
Yeah. And it's exactly. And I don't yell at everyone. Like, some people just want to tell me to shut up. So it's more some players will say, "Hey, can you keep yelling at me, Gilly, or can you keep reminding me to first three steps," or something like that. So and I do that in training too with some of them. Some of them need some help. So if it's just me being annoying noise in the air, then that's good.
Yeah, well, I found that interesting, like the fact that it gets a mention in Richie's book. Like, it obviously, the messaging or the timing or whatever it happened to be obviously meant something to him.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
That was that was a memorable game, like from a
2011
from a fan's perspective. What was it like? Yeah, what are your really recollections of that whole tournament? Because you're flicking through Richie's book. There's like a photo of on the back page of all you guys on stage afterwards, and it's like Aaron Cruden there, and I'd forgotten about Aaron Cruden. Like at the start of the tournament, he was in the stand in Wellington drinking beers, and then he's called into the team, and then there's Stephen Donald and Pity Weeper and. Yeah, Richie's broken foot.
I know. Well, it sort of felt like we couldn't catch a break. Like as a tournament each week, something had happened. Like there'd be another injury, there'd be another loss of someone, or I think we were into our fourth or fifth 10. You know, Stephen Donald got called in from whitebaiting, and DC went down with a groin. I remember that day vividly. Like we had a meeting straight after training to say what had happened, and it was very much you just got to keep trucking, lads. We'll figure it out. I have quite a few memories, but the most significant one for me was I remember going onto the field. It was 8-7. It was 8-7 the score, and it was like 10 minutes to go, and it was just this ferocious battle of halfway because it was just a penalty kick to decide the game, and we had Andy Ellis, Richie McCaw, Stephen Donald, and I want to say, was it Kieran Reid? I just remember there was a stoppage, and I ran on, and the four sort of senior players or leaders that were still on the field for that last 5 or 6 minutes come together, and you could just see in their eyes they were calm. There was no panic. I remember Andy Ellis. Actually, Andy was really impressive. Just being really calm with the plan, what we were going to do. And I came off from that little huddle thinking, we got this, and it was sort of, there was still 5 minutes. It was still so tight. There was just one mistake, one infringement. And I just thought that's the players making decisions, being calm under pressure, in a pinnacle moment, in the biggest game of some of their lives. And so that was probably the thing I remember most from in the game. And then after the game, the coolest thing was sitting around on the floor in the Eden Park changing room, and just everyone just sitting around just going, wow. And having a beer and just like, wow. Like not a lot was being said, to be fair. It was quiet, but it was just reflective and sort of, I don't know, special, real special. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it's funny in an environment like that because the players are fucking exhausted because they've given everything, but you're not exhausted. You're just ready to party. But I suppose
mate, I'm emotionally exhausted. I'll tell you what. And the weeks are tough. Like the week for the staff is tough because we work really hard. And so yes, we're not out in the test match, but we've put a whole lot of work into the week, and so you do get to the end of the game, and you are emotionally knackered, and you are like, holy, okay, we've got to do it again tomorrow, and then you start again tomorrow, so it's we don't have the physical exhaustion, but I think there's also, we do have the emotional stress and fatigue that comes with the whole gig.
Yeah, and so what was up with Richie's foot? He it was like a broken foot, right?
Yeah, I think he had a fracture of some bone, and Deb Robinson, our doctor at the time, loved Deb, she's an awesome doc, and she was just real calm, and her and Richie had worked together at the Crusaders a lot, so everyone trusted Deb. And Deb was just like, look, he'll be fine to play, but that's it. And so
hands off, Gilly.
I want to say it was like 3 or 4 weeks. I can't remember how many games or how many weeks he didn't do a lot of training in, but he did bare minimal to get ready for the game. And that was just because, as soon as you put some work into the foot, it got sore. So you go into the game with it not being too sore, and he was tough enough to play with a bit of pain. Immense effort, to be fair, but he was that important to the team that everyone was okay with that.
Yeah. Was that a big night after that? At the time, I was living in a suburb called Westmere, just around the corner from Marley Williams, and I saw Zach Guilford rolling out of there about 8 or 9 in the morning.
Yeah, no, it was a big few days, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't say a big night; it was a big few days. Probably a solid week, to be fair, because I think we went on a tour around New Zealand, and I actually remember I got a cool photo of it. Actually, we were travelling to Christchurch to take the World Cup down to Christchurch, and we landed in Christchurch. I think we landed in Christchurch. Had to wait like an hour to get on the bus to go to parade. And I've got this photo of Graham Henry asleep, cuddled up on the floor in this holding pen, it was like a tent, with the World Cup. He was just asleep, cuddling this World Cup, and so that was sort of 3 or 4 days after we'd won. So again, another memory of a long time ago.
That's amazing. You just can't imagine the pressure he was under. Like the fact that he survived and kept his job after 2007, when the tradition in the past had been to gas a coach that doesn't win the World Cup. The fact that he survived and then won the World Cup in 2011, it's remarkable.
Oh, it's a cool story because he's a great coach. I loved working with Ted. And the environment, they'd learnt a lot on the 4-year cycle before, I think, and so that was definitely the right decision, and hence we won the cup. So it was he did well, didn't he, to survive?
He really did.
Yeah.
There was a rumour that Owen and Ben Franks went to the gym like the next day after the World Cup final. Is that an urban legend or is that true?
No, it's true. It's true. It's strange, isn't it? But it actually it just speaks volumes of what those two were like. They love lifting tin. They didn't necessarily like partying, and they were like, particularly Owen, but Ben as well. They were a little bit ahead of their time when it came to professionalism. They learnt a lot from Brad Thorn. Brad Thorn was very professional. He'd been a pro for a long time when he came into the All Blacks, and Owen and Ben carried on that professionalism where what you ate was important. You go to a team dinner, they'd still take a protein shake. They'd carry around their own food and meals, and they were very professional, and their commitment to their bodies was huge. And so they were great role models. But going to the gym the day after winning the World Cup final,
that's something else.
Not quite sure about that. Yeah.
So you weren't there with them?
Shit, no. No chance, mate. No chance.
Brad Thorn, since you mentioned him. So was he in the All Blacks before you started? What was, I remember a story about him. So he was selected for the All Blacks, and then he declined initially, right? Didn't he? Went back to the NRL for a...
Yeah, no, he was in and out a couple of times. When I started, he was in the All Blacks in 2008. So I can't remember if he was in the 2007 World Cup. I don't think so. But yeah, he came and then he went and then he came back. And so, and he was so cool. Like, what I loved about Brad was, obviously in Australia as a young pro who'd been doing it for a while, he just was just so simple in his preparation. He lifted exactly the same every single week. He even had the same pre-match meal every week, which was so different. He'd have a banana sandwich. That was his pre-match meal. Like, there's all this amazing food, and it was a banana sandwich was all he'd have, and cans of lemonade after the game. So again, lots of players learn a lot from him, and I think that's what happens nowadays. Professionalism has grown, and we have more and more people living the lives of professional athletes than we used to have. And so as new younger players come in, they see what's around them, and it's almost like the learning is so organic by seeing what the senior players are doing. They understand what's required now. They might not have been doing some of that stuff when they were in their club, but now that's like, well, this is an expectation. All these leaders and senior players are doing it, so I'll do it too.
Yeah, and does that become a problem for you in the respect that you're not having to put the boot up people or tell them to do their training, you're having to pull people back? I'm thinking like, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Yeah, if you read their books, it's like they were trying to train 3 times a day to get one ahead on. Yeah, is it the same sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, like there's athletes, there's All Blacks that will do so much more than many others in the squad. Like a TJ Perenara is a classic example. He'll do an extra session most days that others won't, and it's just a matter of trying to educate and coach some of that intent or energy. So I don't disagree with some of it, and so it's a matter of working with the athlete, right? Collaborating on, okay, we've got to a point where you're in this condition, Aaron Smith, you're doing this treadmill walk every morning. Cool. How does it work? How does it fit into the All Black schedule? What are we getting out of it? Do we do it every single week? Do we pull back later on in the year? So it's very much a coach-athlete relationship where we're sort of collaborating. So, that's probably a big shift to having to put my boot up people's butt. I don't really have to motivate too many people. The All Black jersey motivates everyone. So,
Oh, that's goosebump stuff. Yeah, the Aaron Smith treadmill thing you're talking about. I brought this up before we came to the podcast room. I heard you on another podcast talking about this. So every morning, Aaron Smith would put the treadmill on an incline of 15 and do like a 2 kilometre walk on that.
Yeah.
Which feels like you're walking up a steep hill very quickly as well, like 10 minutes per kilometre pace, which is a brisk walk.
Yep.
What's the benefit in that any one of us can get?
Oh, I think, we all know what it feels like to go up a hill. Okay, it's hard work. And in rugby in particular, we do enough running. Generally speaking, if the program's right, we get enough running in, and we have to keep finding ways to keep improving our fitness without improving the risk of increasing the risk of injury. So something like a treadmill walk will improve your calf and leg strength, your aerobic fitness, but there's no impact. So good on the joints, great for strength in the legs. So when you think about how that transfers to running on the park, it means that you're probably going to be more efficient in your running, you're probably going to go longer into the game, and there's no extra risk from doing too much running. So that's the logic. We do the same with bikes. What bikes? We'll jump on the bikes, we'll do some high intensity stuff on bikes to get some more energy system development or metabolic training done without increased risk of soft tissue injury. So that's the balancing act, as being the fittest team in the world and the healthiest team in the world with no soft tissue injuries.
I've heard you talk about watt bikes a lot in other podcasts. So you're a massive fan of them.
I love them.
You're in love with them.
Yeah. I did one this morning before I came to see you, Dom. So I'm on one most days at the moment. I've got a bit of a sore shoulder and sore foot, so I'm just looking after myself and trying to stay fit by hitting the watt bike in the garage. But no, they're a cool piece of kit.
What do you do? What does an average day look like for you in terms of fitness?
I'll try and do an hour of something every day when I'm working, and then when I'm in my summer mode, I'll be basically preparing for Ironman. So it'll be 2 to 3 to 5 hours a day, depending on sort of the schedule. But yeah, I'll swim, bike, run through my week when I'm with the All Blacks, just depending on where we are and what's at the hotel and things. So just try and fit into my day. Do it first thing. Don't leave it to the end of the day. Start my day with it, and that's the key.
Just makes you feel good, eh? Physical activity. I started flicking through your book yesterday. You put a book out 4 or 5 years ago, Health Yourself, which is a great book, by the way, but it's it feels like it's aimed at people that don't do any sort of movement at all, which is alarming.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes you feel good. Like I think, it's if I'm at all ever feeling tired or flat in energy, I know the best thing for me is to exercise. That's what I've learned about myself, and I dare say most people would be the same if they actually tried it. It's not necessarily about thrashing yourself, but doing some exercise of some form, moving a little bit will make you feel like, if I don't exercise, I get tired, which seems ironic and contradictory, but if I exercise, I feel like I've got way more energy to do loads more in my day. And so, I think it's massively important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. And I feel like it's just been through potentially your career with the All Blacks that we've learned like the mental health benefits of exercise as much as the physical. It's
100%. Like some people, like some guys in the All Blacks will train, I think, for their mental health to deal with the stress and the pressure of performance. Exercise helps them deal with it. And so that's why when I say I have to pull people back, it's not necessarily all because they're trying to be the best physical version of themselves, but I think there's a combination of it helps with confidence, it helps with mood, it helps with sleep. Likewise, things like saunas and ice baths, all those things help with mood and confidence. So it's all a big part of that health performance puzzle. We're sort of rebranding our group at the moment, our health and performance group, and we're talking about performance through health is sort of our mantra. And if we think about it, all of us are trying to perform in our day-to-day lives, and it's way easier to perform if you're healthy. And so we tend to put things around the wrong way, but you look after your health and your mind through exercise, and you'll perform in anything you choose to perform in.
Yeah, but you weren't always this way.
No.
In the beginning of your book, you talk about going down to Otago and being a bit of a fatty, 20 kilos. Were you a stocky, 20 kilos overweight though, or were you?
Yeah, Probably, what do they call it nowadays? They have is it the fresher few or
the fresher 15?
The fresher 15, something like that. And it's definitely, there was a case when I was down there in the 90s. It was very much I went down there a skinny young man, and after a year I was a chubby young man. So eating poorly, drinking too much, not exercising, and
how can you not exercise when you're doing like a fitness degree?
Well, it's cold. It's dark. It's cold and dark. And no, when I say not exercise, I might have ran twice a week and got on my bike once a week, but doesn't make up for everything you're eating and drinking. So the balance is wrong. But I think, I was actually surprised when I'd finished my degree and I knew nothing about training or nutrition. And so that's why I wrote the book, because I feel like it's really hard to find the knowledge in an easily digestible form for most people. And it is complicated when you try and figure out what you should and shouldn't be eating. Likewise, what exercise you should and shouldn't be doing. It took me a while to learn that about myself, and I was trained in that stuff. I reckon I turned the corner when I was about 24. I realised that if I ate a bit less or a bit cleaner and exercised a bit more consistently, I'd feel better, have more energy, and lose some body fat. And I'd been studying for nearly 8 years at that stage.
Was that when you were in Australia doing your PhD, or was this post?
I just got home from Australia doing my PhD, and I was working in Hamilton teaching. So I was actually teaching exercise physiology, and I was still exercising daily but eating way too much. And so I was just getting tired because I had the balance wrong and I was still too heavy. So once I just sort of figured out my nutrition a little bit by experimenting a little bit, I learned so much. And I think that's probably what most people need to do, is experiment a little bit more and find out what works for them.
Yeah, because you're in your late 40s now, and as we've established, you do Ironman, so you're in good shape. What are your vices though, or guilty pleasures? You're a chocolate guy, red wine.
Oh, yeah, all of the above. Yeah. No, I've basically I had some eggs this morning before I came here, and I just got off the watt bike, and my wife Mel said, "Do you want some poached eggs?" I said, "I'd love some." She said, "You want some bread?" And I said, "No, thanks." She said, "It's a bit strange. Why aren't you having bread?" I said, "Because I'd rather have chocolate when I get home tonight." And so that's sort of what I've learned, is that I'll save my carbs for the carbs I like. Whether that's a cold beer or a couple of rows of chocolate. I've sort of learned where to spend my calories, I suppose. Because I think it's important to get a balance of what makes you happy as well. So I enjoy a beer or a wine or some chocolate. I don't necessarily enjoy toast. I can do without it. Same as rice. So I've sort of gone down that track of restricting some of the carbs I don't need and having the ones I like.
Eating smarter.
Being smarter, just a bit more conscious in your decision making. That's all. Like making some sacrifices and compromise so I can enjoy things.
Are you in better shape now than what you were in your 20s?
Right now, no. I've had a year off Ironman, but probably the last 10 years, definitely way better shape than I was in my 20s. I want to sort of, probably like yourself, Dom, I want to defy age a little bit. I want to keep being better physically and looking after my body. You only got one. So look after it. I'm definitely spending a bit more time and energy, stretching, eating better, not being so strung up on running hard, but running consistently, slowly. Same as on the bike. I don't thrash myself so much on the bike. I'll just be on the bike. So I think, this time next year I'll be in way better shape than I was in my 20s.
Yeah, have you? Do you know the work of Peter Artier, or his book Outlive? Yep. Yeah, it's a bloody great book.
Awesome book.
Oh, incredible. So it's for anyone that hasn't read it, it's about basically reverse engineering your aging. So work out what you want to be like when you're 70 or 80 and work back. So for him, it's like he wants to be able to lift a suitcase on an overhead compartment in a plane or a train.
Absolutely.
And be able to walk around train stations. And it's like, if you want to do that at 70 or 80, you've got to be doing more than running a 5K park run when you're 30.
100%.
It was just a different way of looking at it. And I found it really, really exciting.
Yeah, well, it's not until you start getting older that those things, you don't think about that stuff. But, how often most of us lift something above our head. Most of us don't do it anymore. Unless we're in a job that requires that, so that when you do get older, you haven't lifted stuff above your head for 15, 20 years, of course you can't do it anymore. So it's all about function, isn't it? It's all about maintaining good function and the things you want to do. I haven't thought about what I want to do when I'm 70 or 80, but I'd love to keep doing Ironman. And it might not be yearly, it might be every 3 or 4 years I do a race, but I don't want to stop doing it. But I do know that as I've got older, I've had to start doing strength training again.
Did you stop for a while, did you?
Oh, yeah. No, I stopped for a bit because I just wanted to swim, bike, run more. And then I started getting a few niggles. Started getting a few...
Mate, this sounds very familiar, by the way.
Started getting a few aches and pains and, struggling to do things that I used to be able to do when I was younger, like lift something above my head. So I've realised probably the last 4 or 5 years that I know all this stuff, right? That's what I do as a job, and I've done for a long time. But practicing what you preach is a different story. So I've actually really had to strip things back and go, actually, I need to stretch more. I need to get massage more often, and I need to do some strength training, not daily, but every couple of days I need to be doing something that is increasing or working on my range of motion in ways I don't do in swim, bike, run, and adding resistance. And it makes me feel less old, if that makes sense. So,
you can completely, because I'm probably much the same. I think that's how I got a knee injury, if I'm being completely honest with myself. But I've started going to the gym again, and it's only maybe 2 or 3 weeks of doing it on a regular basis, and you don't start to look good necessarily, but you start to feel good.
Yeah.
You feel stronger. It doesn't take long.
No, it doesn't take long, and it's just about consistency, and it's about just not necessarily worrying about how much weight you're lifting, but improving your movements and your function, so that when you are older, it's all good. But you're actually, I can run for 2 hours, no problem, and probably not use my glutes at all. And if you spend 10 years doing that, all of a sudden you start developing knee pain because you haven't been using your glutes for 10 years, and all of a sudden you're collapsing, your knees are collapsing inwards, and now you've got a cartilage problem. And so it's almost like we just need to be doing things to keep the body, healthy, healthy to do whatever it is you want to do. So that's something that I've learned the last wee while just with myself, is I do a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Should everybody be doing some weights or some resistance stuff? Even
100%. Like the World Health Organization now, like it used to be back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, 20 or 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, a week, 3 times. That used to be the World Health Organization's guidelines on being healthy. Now it's got some vigorous exercise in there. It's got some aerobic exercise in there. It's got resistance training because gone are the days of older people not doing weights because it's bad for you. It's actually the science, the literature, the studies are out there that show you can still be super strong and healthy by lifting weights as you age. And in fact, it reverses the impact of aging. By being strong, you're strengthening ligaments, tendons, muscles, and bones. And so you want to stay healthy for longer, you got to be lifting weights or using resistance through movement. Okay, so doesn't mean you go to the gym and you're squatting 200 kilos. It means that you're performing a squat movement with some weight that's more than your body weight through good range.
Yeah, I've had Arch Jelly on the podcast twice now. He's 101, almost 102. He was the coach of like John Walker, the 1500 metre runner in the 70s and 80s. He still does like 100 squats a day.
There you go. You go. Yeah, it's I was reading a cool book the other day actually called Ikigai. Have you read the book Ikigai?
Oh, no, I've got it on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet.
I just finished it the other day, and it was very cool. Like they basically spend a lot of time talking to the oldest people in the world and their secrets to a long and healthy life. And a couple of things came out of it, which doesn't surprise anyone, but, move more and eat till you're 70% full. It was as simple as that. That was some of the, and eat real food versus crappy processed stuff. Yeah. So, really simple stuff. And, squatting 100 squats a day, like that doesn't sound like a lot, but most people couldn't do that just with body weight. Like they wouldn't be able to walk the next day, or if they did, they'd be average squats.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone that's listening to this that doesn't do anything at the moment in terms of resistance, like how could you start? Like a bunch of press-ups a day, some sit-ups, some squats.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big bang for buck would be mobility through your hips. So it could be the world's greatest stretch, like a yoga pose to open up your hips. It would be some squat patterns based on your range of motion. For example, most people couldn't get thighs parallel, so I'd lift your heels up on some bits of wood or something so you can get full range through your hips. So I'd be doing squats, calf raises, especially for endurance athletes. Like common injury for endurance athletes is Achilles and calves. So we get those strong, keep them strong. So just bodyweight calf raises in your house. You don't need to go to a gym. Press-ups are great, but most of us don't need to do more in front of us. Most of us do plenty of stuff in front of us. We need to do more through our back. So back, hips, glutes could be as simple as some banded glute activations through sort of abduction of the leg. So yeah, it doesn't have to, it's not complicated. It's simple stuff, but just mainly switching things on and going through full range and adding resistance as able.
That's good stuff. It's worth pointing out, you were here before I was next door grabbing you a coffee, and when I arrived back at my apartment front door, you were doing calf raises on the steps.
Yeah, well,
Are you just always looking to get little?
Well, no, well, sort of. I truth be known, I was visiting my nephew on the weekend, and we're at their house, and he's nearly 2.5. And I was trying to hide from him around the island bench. So I was on my hands and knees crawling around the floor, trying to hide from him. And I got a bit excited, crawled a bit fast, and then I was like, oh. And I've done something to my foot. I think I've strained my plantar fascia or something. So no, all I was doing, Dom, was I wasn't calf raising. I was trying to stretch out my foot to see if it was still sore. So
right.
It is sore. So I'll be on the bike a bit more the next week or so, I think.
Okay. Well, that's a really embarrassing story. But thanks for your honesty. But I think that's the reason why you want to keep moving as you get older. You want to be able to get down on the floor and play with kids, right?
Oh,
you don't want to lose that playfulness.
100%. Like that's I was a bit embarrassed that I'd hurt myself crawling around the floor. So I don't know whether that means I need to practice crawling a bit more or be a bit slower when I crawl. But that's exactly it. Like it brought me so much joy, Like so, you don't want to not be able to do that. So yeah, it's a great example of staying on top of your function.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, thanks for that knowledge. I'm sure a lot of people can get a lot out of it. Can we talk about some individual players? You can no comment these if you want.
Yeah.
But I've heard you talk about Richie, and you've described him as, quote, weak and slow.
Yeah.
He's remarkable. We know he has 148 test matches, arguably the greatest All Black of all time. He's gone on to do insane adventure races and endurance events. Does he find it funny when you refer to him as weak and slow, or have you had an interaction with him about it?
Yeah.
Does he tell you off?
Don't know. No, he hasn't told me off yet. I don't know how he feels about it, but I don't think he can deny it either. So it is fact.
What do you mean weak and slow? What do you mean?
Well, Richie, when I met Richie, he hated the gym. I absolutely hated the gym. And we talk about how things have changed. Like Richie didn't believe that gym work improved his performance. And when he was younger, I probably wouldn't disagree with him. Okay, and this is one of those things where you're learning about athletes, you're learning about the game and how you play and how you respond to how you play. But he wasn't very strong in the gym. He hated the gym, and even my first year, like he would come once a week. It was sort of like he'd come if he felt like it. And over time, through my education with him and Steve Hanson's education with him, is like, well, if you want to get faster, you need to get stronger. You're actually getting slower as you get older, and you play such a physical game that if you don't go to the gym and get stronger, you'll keep getting hurt. And so once Richie bought into the fact that, hey, this might help me stay the same speed I am or get me faster, and it might make me healthier for longer and play more test matches, then he bought into it. And so he wasn't super strong, but he's like you and I, Dom. He was pretty much a slow twitch athlete. He couldn't jump high, he couldn't run fast. He wasn't slow, but he just wasn't explosive, right? But compared to any other player on the field, he never slowed down. So his endurance, his aerobic ability was second to none. for the size of him. And so, you know, and how I always explained it to people is that at the start of the game, he might be slower than, I don't know, all of the loosies and all of the backs on the park. He might be the slowest one there, maybe. But at the end of the game, he was running faster than all of them because he never fatigued, you know. And so that's what, you know, that's what you deal with. You deal with what are your strengths. His strengths were running faster than everyone else at the end of the game when it mattered. And how many games did the All Blacks win in the last 10 minutes when he was on the park? So many. How many would he make that decisive tackle or turnover when he was on the park in the last 10 minutes? Many tests. So he had aerobic strengths, but gym and speed weren't his strengths. Yeah.
Poor Richie. I've also had Dougal Allen and Simone Mayer on the podcast, and they've done adventure races with him. They both described him as clumsy. I think that's, we were talking about doing adventure races where you're like traversing rivers in the middle of the night and stuff like that, but it feels like everyone's having a go at Richie.
Yeah, well, you know, because he's pretty perfect, isn't he? He was a pretty perfect skipper, so he needs to be brought down a peg. Tall poppy syndrome, yeah, maybe. But that's why I just try to qualify those statements, is that he had strengths that no one else had. And so those comments I make are tongue in cheek, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's very much a matter of, well, you know, the number of games he won because of the strength he had aerobically were so many. So yeah, he was a little bit like Conrad Smith. Conrad Smith was the same, not strong, not fast, but just ran all day. And again, he'd be the one running past people at the end of a game because he never got tired. He might not have had the speed as he grew into his All Black career, but he had the endurance, and that set him apart.
And SBW? So he turns up to the gym, you're like, there's nothing I can do with you, you're perfect.
Well, no, not really, because he wasn't that quick over 10, 20 metres either. Like, he was a big, lean aerobic athlete as well. He was very fit, but he had knee issues and stuff, so we were pretty restricted with him. But he was never extremely fast, not when he was in the All Blacks.
Is that what you needed to do, get him faster?
Oh, we need to get him healthy first, and then try to work on a bit of explosiveness. Right. But you know, he was more of a specimen. You know, his skill set was probably being able to stay strong in a tackle and offload, and that's what we saw him do all the time. It wasn't him necessarily running around people because of his speed. It would be running through people and then offloading and setting other people up, and that's what he did, right? You know, so aerobically very fit, big and strong, but not explosive. Yeah.
Dan Carter?
Yeah, he was strong, explosive, agile, fit. Yeah, probably not quite as quick and fit as Beauden, but very explosive and great feet, right? And that was, you know, he would use his feet and dance around people, and just amazing skill set. So he'd dance around one or two people and then put a grubber and regather and score a try. Like, he just had an amazing mixture that was pretty hard probably for people to defend, because he could step you, he could run around you, he could kick over top or beside you, and so he would have been a hell of a person to try and defend. But physically, like, a good athlete, real good athlete, rounded athlete.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about Beauden Barrett quite a bit, like in terms of almost being like a freak in some ways. Yeah,
well, we do a fitness test called a Bronco, which is a shuttle test, and you know, he's like explain him like he's like a big 737, like a big jet, you know, going down the runway. He'll go through the fitness test, and everyone else is slowing down, and he's getting faster. You know, he's like building up his speed into the test. So he's still got the record for the best time in that test, equal with Cam Roigard now, 4 minutes 12, but super fit and super quick, especially in open space. Obviously getting older and maybe not as quick as he used to be, but it's still super fast. But yeah, he was very... he had he had an amazing ability to run fast often and recover well. So his endurance of his speed was good, but he also could go all day. The number of times he'd come on off the bench in the early days of his career and just run around people and run from the backfield and score a try to win a game was massive, and he's still doing that.
Oh, yeah, a mate of mine, when he saw on Instagram that you were coming in, wanted me to ask you about Fletcher Newell.
Yeah.
Like a squat or a bench press?
Yeah, squat. Yeah, he did two. I think he might have done 280 or something in January. Yeah.
You first of all, as a strength and conditioning guy, how do you feel about numbers and records and things like that? Is it a distraction that's unnecessary?
Yeah, it is a little bit for me. Like when I was younger, like we used to chase numbers. We used to pride,
like an ego thing in a way.
Well, almost like it qualifies that you're doing a good job. You're like if your team, your players are strong and they're fit and they're lean. And on my way up here, I was preparing myself for a talk I got to give tomorrow around this stuff. But like having big numbers in the gym and big numbers on paper and good body weights and good skin folds, it doesn't win a game. So that's what I've learned over time, is that there is a balance. Yes, we want everyone to be in great shape and be healthy, but we need to win, right? We want to win. The whole point of it is to win. And so you've got to get the balance. So I don't chase numbers anywhere near as much as I used to with the team. I like setting new standards for the lads. So at the World Cup last year, we had the last 3 weeks, the quarterfinal, semi-final, final last year. We probably had 60% of the squad hit a record in one of their movements. Okay, so the guys were peaking physically in the last 3 weeks of the World Cup. And does that mean we win the World Cup? No. Did it put us in a good place to win the World Cup? Yeah. But, like the numbers are a little bit about just constantly looking for those improvements, but they don't make you the best rugby player in the world.
Right.
Okay, and that's sort of what I've learned. The likes of Richie have taught me that. The likes of Conrad have taught me that. You might have the best numbers in the gym as a midfielder, doesn't mean you're going to be the best player on the park on Saturday. And so, that's really clear. Over time, we see that the best players don't have the best numbers all the time. Sometimes the best players still have the best numbers, but not all the time. You can be the best player on the park and have average numbers.
So Fletcher Newell, did he do a massive bench or something?
Massive squat, 280.
Massive squat.
Yeah, massive 280 kilo squat, yeah.
280 kilos. So how many 20 kilo plates is that?
Well,
so 20 kilo bar.
20 kilo bar, so then you take it to 260, that's what? 6 plates each side. The bar's bending. It's you got guys either side, so the bar's bending so much the plates want to fall off. Like it's crazy weight. There's a few people around New Zealand doing that sort of weight now, and it's freakish. It's scary. I think Asafa Mua might have benched 220 or something in the Hurricanes gym sessions. So there's some freakishly strong people out there now. We've always had strongish people, but years and years of training in the gym and starting earlier means that we're probably getting bigger and stronger people coming through. And but again, it doesn't mean you're the best prop in the team. You can have, I've got plenty of examples in the All Blacks over the last couple of years that the strongest player isn't the best player on the park, but being stronger could help you be better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So who's your boss? Who do you answer to? Is it the coach, or is there someone or is it the team manager? Or?
No. So Razor's probably my point of call. There's sort of a group of us. There's 4 of us five of us that sort of meet to discuss bigger things around the team. So I represent my group of staff, like the health and performance team, and there's 5 of us that meet. But Razor's probably the big dog back in the last year, but the boss was Fozzie. Before that, it was Steve Hansen was my boss. So, it's Razor's the one.
Because you seem to have a really good relationship with the players. Like I've seen some clips on YouTube from the official Black Channel, and you're kind of broy with the team. I don't know if it's because the cameras are there, but there's a clip and you're giving Dane Coles of all people shit, and so I'm guessing. I don't know. I'd imagine, like from the coach's perspective, it's more of a standoff relationship, like a teacher and student, but you're sort of like a conduit in the middle. So you'd see a lot of these guys maybe relate to them on a different level to what the coaches do. So do you then go back and, so if you think one of the players is off, like mentally, or they've got some shit going on, do you then report it to whoever the coach happens to be, or what do you do with that information?
That's a good question, mate. I think yes, I like having good relationships with the players, but it's more, it depends on the player and depends on the who, and It's not about I'm not selective in who I become friends with or anything, but I'm mates with a few of the boys. It's just sort of what happens when you've been through so much together. I've worked with the likes of Sammy Whitelock for I want to say 14 years or something. So he takes me hunting. So it's sort of like it's a respectful relationship. And when he comes home from Japan and he goes out on the farm, I'll probably go see him and grab one of his lambs out of the freezer. It's sort of, so you build that relationship over time, and over that time you build trust and honesty, and if sometimes I'll be saying things to me and I'll be saying things to them that don't go any further than our relationship, and likewise there'll be some players in the group that need to kick up the butt, and you got to be stern with, and other players you need to wrap your arm around and be a bit cuddly with. So you sort of take your time trying to understand that and build relationships, and I think trust is massive. I feel like if I've done a good job with connecting with players, and they trust me, then it almost gets to a point of no matter what I say, they'll do. I remember it would have been last year, leading up to the World Cup, we had a test match here, and Pete Gallagher, the physio, and I were at a gym session, and it was just going real good. Like, the guys were lifting, they were engaged, they were energised. Everyone was busy, everyone was doing exactly what they needed to do. And I said to Pete, I felt at that time that we could have told the boys, we're going to cancel the gym session, you're going to go jump off the Harbour Bridge for cold water immersion. And I said to them, they trust us that much, they'd probably go and do it. There'd be no questions. And so I think that's the sort of where you're trying to get to with your relationship is the trust, so that then they can come to you as well to say, I don't like this, it doesn't make me feel good on Saturday, or can we change this, or hey Gill, I want to do a bit more. You want to be approachable and have trust. So that's where the relationships go. But some things go to coaches or doctors or physios, and some things won't. And I suppose there's a fine line there.
Yeah. How have you found your relationship with the players has changed as you've got older? Because when you first started, I'm guessing you were the same age as some of the senior players. Now you're old as fuck. You're still younger than me. But I'm thinking I've had Rick Salitz on the podcast, and he was the media liaison manager when Jonah Mania blew up. So he was old then, and he said Jonah was quite playful with him and would tackle him from behind in the hallway of the hotel and stuff. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, no, 100%. When I started with the team, it was... I was 31 or something, so I was younger than Brad Thorn from memory. I think I was a year younger than Brad Thorn, so it was very different. You're the same age, you're probably more a brother than a father, whereas now I'm sort of 20 or 30 years older than some of them, so it's probably more a father, mentor type role. But I think because I've been around for a while, there's probably a bit more instant trust, as in he must know what he's talking about. So I don't have to earn that as much as I felt like I needed to earn it when I was the same age as them. Who's this young punk telling me what to do? And so I think that has changed a bit.
You've got credibility. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I think so. That helps build that trust a bit quicker. But it doesn't change the approach. The approach is still, you're an All Black. My job is to help you be a great All Black, and how can we do that together? And so that's. And it is a together thing. It's not a do as I say, which is what I used to be like when I was younger. I'm the boss, do what I say. I don't do that at all. It's more, hey, how are we going to help you be better? And I think that's a really important part of the role and the relationship.
I think as you get older, you learn there's better ways to communicate, and get your messaging through.
Oh, without doubt. You sort of, I'm starting to get grey and I'm starting to lose hair, and it's sort of like you get a bit wiser, and I hope it's wiser. It's sort of like I remember talking to a player, Byron Kelleher. Remember Byron Kelleher?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he would have been at the Chiefs when you were there.
Yeah, so he was at the Chiefs, and he was leaving, and he took me out for a coffee to give me some wise words, because he was an older player and been an All Black, and and I remember him saying that he felt as an older player that he didn't get fitter, he just got smarter. He felt that he didn't get fitter on the field, but he chose better running lines, and he read the game better. And I remember him saying that to me, and why I'm bringing that up is because it sort of it actually makes sense in my role now. Is it's actually, you don't necessarily get better at what you do, but you learn more effective ways of achieving the outcome through communication and relationships.
Yeah, Byron. He's been in the news a bit lately. Yeah, he's had some alcohol trouble and some domestic violence stuff. What's it like when you're in that environment and there is some scandal? Like, I'm thinking of some of the stuff you went through. You would have been there when Stephen Donald had a bad game and was getting death threats. There was the Mark Tellier stuff in the World Cup last year where he got stood down for a game. The Aaron Smith stuff. What's it like when you're in that environment when these things happen? Is it tough? You must sort of feel the pain a bit yourself.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough because you care, right? You care for first of all, you care for the athlete, the player, the person. So it is tough, and you sort of, sometimes you roll your eyes and think, oh man,
what the fuck were you doing?
What are you up to, mate? You know, but we all make mistakes, and I think that's the thing about the team is it is a family, and you sort of. You need to know that there's some things that are okay and some things that aren't, and if you do something that's not okay, then you need to be held accountable for it. Like in any family or relationship, be held accountable, and then it's really your actions that follow that will help you out of the hole you've dug yourself in. So, no, there's a lot of care. I think because we're all human and we all make mistakes, but the scandal, like often it's always blown way out of proportion. Not always, but often it is, and that's the joy of the media, isn't it? They need something scandalous to write about sometimes, and you just feel for the heat that comes on sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who are some of the biggest pranksters in the team?
Sevu Reece, who was missing last year because he had a ACL of his knee, but he's a crazy, funny wee man. So he's hilarious. At the moment, who else would be reasonably funny? Richie Mwanga, Anton Leonard-Brown, they're pretty funny characters. So they'd be the ones at the moment. But there's always, like I remember the Maunganus, I remember him asking me one day, Gilly, can you show us how to do a chin-up? How to do it properly, and we're in a public gym. Like I would have been 32. I was naive. I was young. I wasn't wise enough to be up to it. But I get up on this bar and show him and the boys how to do a proper chin up. So I'm hanging up there. I'm into about the third rep, and then he just pulls my pants down. So Starkus. I don't know how many people saw it, but gee. It was a pretty embarrassing moment. You're hanging up there above, and he just laughed. I fell for that. Maunganui he used to be a big prankster, I remember it might have been my first year in the team. We were sitting at an airport having some Japanese, and there was 6 of us, and he said, okay, who will eat all that chili powder for $100? And everyone's like, no chance. We're about to get on a long haul flight to South Africa, I think. Again, young family, not much money. He said $200. I said, no. Everyone else said, no. He said $400 cash. Whoever wants it to eat that. And I said, yep. Yes. So I just was thinking about the money, right? Not about the 15-hour flight we had to get on. So I had this, and then he, just as I said, yep, he said, no water. So I poured all this chili powder in my mouth, and I had to try and swallow it, and I wasn't allowed to drink a glass of water. And fair enough to Ma, he gives me $400 cash. I don't know if he had $400 cash in his pocket, but yeah. So he was probably the biggest prankster that I've dealt with.
Amazing. God, good memories, eh?
Yeah.
Good stories.
Oh, cool fun.
I've heard you say there are some players that you just don't go near before a game because they're in fight mode. I suppose everyone has like a different sort of like pre-match. I think the context of it, you were saying there's some that are joking around and want to yarn, and others that you just like no, just to give them their space.
No, definitely. Like some. I think it'll be the same in many sports where some athletes want to really relax and just be normal and not build the game up in their head too much. And then they'll have a point in time in their build-up where they switch in. And everyone's so different. And a good example would be, you're on the bus to the game, for example, and some guys will want to chat and relax, and some guys will be wanting to listen to death metal. and be wanting to just get really aggressive and fired up 2 hours out from a game. And so in time, people experiment with their own preparation. And so some people like a joke. Like some people will come out on the field before the game. So I'm out in the field getting the team ready, and some will come out and crack a joke with me. Like they're like totally relaxed and they're just there enjoying the moment, laughing. And some will be like frown, burrowed eyes, and not wanting to talk or make eye contact. They're just in their zone. So you sort of got to figure out who's where, because you don't want to make a joke with someone who's mentally really in the moment. Some kickers will tell the guy delivering the kicking tee, when you come out with the kicking tee, I want a joke. You need to come out with a joke. And so some kickers will be wanting to relax before they take the big kick, versus the feeling the pressure of the kicking tee and you must make this kick. So everyone's really different. And again, it's like anything, it's about understanding the nuances between the individuals as to know how to behave or how to help.
Yeah, you must have learned so much about the human psyche.
We're still learning plenty, but it's fascinating to watch, and be part of that. Some guys are so relaxed they could fall asleep, and some are so angry they're just so focused because it's about aggression. And so I remember Richie way back in the day, 2008. I think we met at Auckland Airport early. We were flying to Cape Town to play the Springboks. We'd had an average year the year before, and he kicked all the staff out of this room at the airport and just had the players in there, and we had no idea what he was talking to them about. And anyway, he walks out of this meeting to board this 24-hour flight, and he walks like he's got big watermelons under his armpits. He's big and tough walk that he gets going, and he just made no eye contact with anyone. And I remember him being like that the whole week. Like, he hardly spoke. He was like, from the moment we left to go to Cape Town, he wanted and was demanding a performance, and so that was the whole week. And so there's no joking around with that guy. He was on a mission, and whereas a Maunganui would want a little bit of a laugh, and so everyone's very different, but it's something that the players are constantly having to learn. How do they deal with pressure? How do they perform under pressure? And so we've had Gilbert Anoka with us for a long, long time, and now we've got Kerry Evans with us, and a massive part of it. Like, let's face it, I'd pride the All Blacks on being the fittest team on the planet. Like, we've always tried to be the fittest team on the planet and try to finish over top of teams. So that's always been something that's important for us. But nowadays, teams are so equal in terms of their physical ability. Like, the teams are all big, they're all strong, they're all professional, they're all lean, they're all fast. Often the big moments come down to that, and performing under pressure. Yeah. Making the right decision, executing your skill set under huge pressure is really the difference between good teams and average teams. So I think the more we develop that part of the mental space, the better we'll be.
Yeah. Actually, that Richie story you told just before, I don't know where I heard this. It was either maybe in Dan's movie or Richie's movie, but I think Dan said he never had a conversation with Richie while they were playing together in the All Blacks about anything other than rugby.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like, Richie was so driven and everything was about code. Oh, 100%. I mean, that's why he was so good, right? That's why, great leader, amazing player, like rugby. Oh, I'd be the same. I'd probably have very little conversation with him outside of rugby until his later years when, he was started, like, he loved his cycling, loved his running, and that's why he's kicked on with that. Like, he was one of the players who would have a different program in his bye week because he wanted to run up the Port Hills or he wanted to bike up the Port Hills. So it was a different training program. Andrew Hall wanted to dock 1,000 sheep and Tony Woodcock wanted to herd cattle or deer, so everyone was a bit different back then. So no, I'd agree with DC on that. There wasn't much outside of footy.
It's amazing because I remember there was a story, I think, maybe in 2010 where Richie had a partner, this is pre-Gemma, and he broke up with her because he wanted to focus on his rugby. And I remember thinking at the time, that was a good excuse to get out of a relationship. But the more you hear about the guy, you think it was probably 100% true. Yeah.
I mean, but you look at Olympic sports or endurance sports like Ironman or any other sport that requires a high level of commitment, often the very best are very eccentric and very single-minded or focused, and he was that. Like it was, and we still see it in players nowadays. Probably not as much, but people have got some players have got a bit more stuff going outside of rugby in terms of balance. But you know, I look at Olympic athletes, endurance athletes, and nothing else matters but training and performing and competing, and that's what makes them special.
Yeah, actually, on that, you worked with Hamish Bond and Eric Murray for a while. Double gold medalists. How many races did they have unbeaten?
Oh, it was
like
lot.
Phenomenal, like 80 or something.
It was amazing.
Yeah, what was your work with them?
Well, I was their strength coach pretty much. So they would come in, I was in Hamilton, and started off with doing stuff with New Zealand rowing back with the Everton Dale twins. Back out at
Caroline, Georgia.
Back in early 2000s, and I'd go out to Karapiro Lake and we'd do stuff out there, and then they started coming into the Waikato Stadium because we had a good gym there with the Waikato and Chiefs rugby team, and so they'd come in. So I would have had 15 to 20 rowers coming out to see us back then. And sort of mixed, depending on the coach and the program and the athletes. So I'm still working with Bondi with America's Cup now, so we reached out to him to get him involved in Team New Zealand, and he took it on, and so did Dougal. And I actually reached out to Conrad Smith and Richie McCaw to trial for Team New Zealand. Because
no way! Imagine Richie being in Team New Zealand.
Because the engines were so big. So
unreal.
Yeah, and they love cycling, right? So we did inquire with them early doors to say see if they would be interested, and they both sort of had a little glint in their eyes, and they eventually sort of shied away from it, but they had probably the physiology to give it a good nudge. But Dougal and Hamish have taken on, and they're going in leaps and bounds with Team New Zealand now, so that's great.
Yeah. Well, any overall takeaways about what makes the greats great? Not just in rugby, I guess, but also, the other sports people you've worked with.
Oh, gee, like I said just before, I think just focus, dedication, commitment, all massively important. We all know that, and I think always trying to, I don't want to say seek improvement, but understand that it's not all physical, and there's a big mental component to performance. And every sport's different, but getting that balance right between mental and physical is massive. Yeah. And I think something that's massive for me, and we've already touched on it, Dom, is looking after your body. The best athletes, the ones that endure, and don't just achieve once, but achieve year upon year, and accumulate amazing performances over a long career. They're the ones that generally look after their body. We only got one, and so we talked about strength training and looking after the things that you might think are not important when you're young become really, really important as you get older. And the greats in any sport are generally the ones that are still performing at the top of their sport, in their 30s. And if you've managed to be able to do that, generally you've looked after your body and been a professional.
Yeah, that's great. Have you got a trophy room at home, a souvenir room, a man cave, anything like that?
No, I thought I wanted one. I thought I've got loads of photos and jerseys and special things, but no, I've got on a bookshelf in our spare room, so I hardly go into it. Has World Cup medals and 100th Test sort of plaque, and that's sort of it. I think one day I might, but
you'd have to be selective about what you have in. You've been around for such a long time.
Yeah, well, everyone you love being involved in, and it would be hard. But I think I'd probably just get a big photo collage of some sort. But yeah, at the moment I have nothing done. Yeah, it's all tucked away, or maybe for a rainy day. So
4 more years with the All Blacks. Is that it? Absolutely, or you reassess then?
Yeah, who knows, mate? I think for me and my family, as long as I keep loving what I'm doing, as long as I'm loving it, but just as importantly, if not more importantly, as long as I'm still helping the athletes perform on Saturday, if I feel like I'm still contributing, still doing a great job, and people want me there, then I'll stay as long as I'm wanted, because I love it. I love the team. I don't know much different now. It's been so long. So at the moment I have no plans, but as long as I'm still loving it and contributing, then I'll stick around.
Yeah, has there been anyone ever that's been in the All Black organisation as long as what you have?
Yeah, we did have, like Gilbert Anoka, who's obviously left last year. I think he'd been part-time early doors, early 2000s, and then probably full-time when Graham Henry came on board at 2004. So he'd been around for 20 plus years. Darren Shand had done 20 years. I think our physio, Pete Gallagher, did about 15 or 16 years. So, or might be more than that, 17 or 18 years. So there's been a few. And so I'm sort of the longest standing at the moment because of all the changes. It's been a while.
Hell of an innings. I was just about to wrap up, but then I remembered we've got some Instagram questions to get through, so we'll just do these quick fire. Thoughts on TikTok and social media giving people fitness hacks?
Yeah, I think it's a dangerous place to learn from, I think, because anyone can post anything. So I think the only thing I'd say is check the credibility, experiences and qualifications of people you listen to is all I could probably say. I mean, my platforms, Rugby Ready, Race Ready, Endurance, which is about to pop out, we're going to have some great stuff on there, but we're qualified and we know what we're doing. We've got experience behind us. So I think you just got to be balanced with what you're taking for gospel and what you're sort of, is just out there as rubbish.
Yeah. How does he deal with the tough loss?
Oh, tough. Any losses, I'll always reflect on my own contribution for the week and look for any things that we could have done different or better to help us perform better and not have lost.
So you wear a loss as much as what the players do?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
If we lose and I've got some guys that have to do some extra running after the game, I take it out on them. Yeah, I hate losing. So, I try to curb it a bit more than I used to. I used to get really dark on it, but I sort of we get to a point where you're dark for a couple of hours. The next day, you're travelling to the next place and you're dark and you're just like, how did that happen? And so then, but come Monday, you're back on board and you're positive and you're up and you're just trying to get the next one right. Yeah,
you have to draw a line in the sand and move on.
100%. Everyone talks about it. It's when it means a lot, it's hard to move on from. When it means a lot, I still haven't got over the World Cup loss.
From last year.
Oh, 100%. Well,
you lost in the final. It was a great game though in the final, right?
But we lost, mate.
Final hurdle though.
Mate, I have not got over that. I was looking. There's a couple of documentaries about to come out on NZR Plus on the World Cup, and I had to stop watching it because I kept getting tears. I kept tearing up. It means that much. So, yeah, it's not easy to move on from a loss. Doesn't matter who the loss is against. And there's no, it's okay. We lost the Springboks in the World Cup finals. It's not okay. We should have won that game. So. Yeah, I haven't moved on.
Jesus, not even your first rodeo.
Come
on, you've won a couple, you lost a couple. Don't worry about it. On the flip side of that, the game in the World Cup last year, a few weeks earlier against Ireland, where the All Blacks played out of their skin. You must just be over the moon at a game like that.
Oh, that was special. Yeah, that was special for lots of reasons. I think we'd dropped Mark Talia.
That's right, because he went out or something. It never sort of came out what exactly happened, but he went out and caught up with some friends.
Yep. Yeah, had a late night. Okay. Got dropped from the team, so that was a big call. He was one of our best players. So we go into the game, and I think that they'd given us a tickle up a few times in the last few years. So there was a lot of baggage, I suppose, and they were talking it up, and they're the best team in the world. And I mean, the last 7 minutes, it's the longest period of play in the history of international rugby. I think it was 7 minutes 50 seconds. I think we defended for, and I watched it the other day, and wow, so proud, everyone stuck to their game. Everyone trusted one another. No one was giving away or trying to infringe to stop them attacking. There's just the confidence was just huge. So massive game, and talk about happy. You see it on all the replays of the footage. just so much relief and happiness. Because if you lose that game, you go home, right?
Yeah.
And all the players' families have just arrived. So, they turn up to France, it's like, oh, okay, we're going home tomorrow.
Yeah, the last thing any of those players would want is take their kids to Disneyland in Paris or
For
anything.
2 weeks. Yeah, exactly.
Favourite All Black you've worked with?
Oh, I can't. There's not one. There's not one. Like, it's actually really hard to talk about the favourites. I think I love working with all of them, and it's sort of, I've never been asked that question before, Tom. That's a hard one. I enjoy athletes, any All Black that wants to be a better All Black and are proactive in being better. Like, they're the ones that I love working with from a professional perspective. The ones that want to learn and be better and go back to their club and be better at their club and then come back to us and be better with us. And they're the ones that you sort of just love working with because they are open, they're committed, and they have a growth mindset, and that's, you just love, as a coach, that's what you love working with. You love working with people that want to be better.
So you're not annoyed by players that question why they're doing things?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
no way. I know, I love it. Like, people, if an athlete comes up to me, if a player comes up to me and says, Gilly, why are we doing this? And I explain to them, and they still question me, and then I haven't got my explanation right. Like, education is massive. Like, educating people is massive because at the end of the day, it's about winning on Saturday and helping them be the best they can be on Saturday. And if they've got questions, I love it. Yeah, love it.
And at highest and lowest points of your career? World Cup last year, low point?
No, well, no, it's not. It's not. No, low point will be a couple of low points. Losing to the Lions, like drawing the Lions series, that sucked. Losing to Ireland and New Zealand, that series was tough. They were tough losses because they were series. They weren't just one-offs. And highlights, highlight easy. 215 World Cup, 211 World Cup. And the game in Johannesburg, 2022, to save Ian Foster's career.
Wow.
That game, like, I've never seen so many tears, like more tears in that game, during the game and immediately after, than I've ever seen in an All Blacks jersey. Like, it was so powerful. Like, when the game's not finished and you look over at the bench and you got Aaron Smith, Sammy Kane, and they're on the bench, they've done their part and they've got tears and the game hasn't even finished. Hugely, I get tingly talking about it. It was just massive, and then the leaders sort of stepping up, and sort of saying that he's our coach. Pretty powerful moment in sport, and unless you were in there, you probably wouldn't have felt that from TV, but hugely emotional game that.
Any performance enhancing drugs in rugby?
I think there is in some countries. And I think in some levels, like, I think there's probably a lot of performance enhancing drugs, probably the same in most sport, whether that's Olympic sport or just weekend warrior sport. I think there's a lot more drugs in the recreational users than the professionals.
100% if it's not being tested.
Because the professionals get tested all the time, so it's pretty hard. So, I mean, when I was in Australia in the 90s playing club rugby, and there was loads of drugs in Australian rugby back then at the low levels, club footy. Probably the same in any other country. But in rugby, and specifically in internationals, the testing is pretty vigorous. There's some telltales. If someone comes onto the scene and they're just this amazing physique and they're amazing for 18 months and then they disappear, well, there's some telltale signs there. Likewise, if someone disappears for a year with a big injury and then comes back in the shape of their life, well, there's some signs there too. But plenty of suspicions, but athletes in New Zealand we get tested all the time. Like, every week there's people getting drug tested in the All Blacks, random. There's none in rugby in New Zealand that I'm aware of at the elite level. Also,
it's so frowned upon here, and there's so much shame that's brought around with a negative test. I don't know if anyone would even bother, would they? It's like the rewards are minimal in comparison to the consequences.
100%, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so tell us about Race Ready Endurance. This is like your new side hustle, as if you need a new side hustle.
No, I sort of. Thanks for asking, actually, Dom, because I'm pretty excited about it. So, I've been helping lots of endurance athletes for a long time, and around strength training and looking after their body and I suppose enabling them to improve performance and performance through health of their body, right? So. We've decided, Loretta down in Tauranga, and myself and Tyler back in Canada, we're going to launch the next month Race Ready Endurance, which is basically a portal for people to get any help in their strength training, whether that's around rehabilitation, sore knees, injuries, but also coaching for whatever event that they might want coaching. It could be mum and dad wanting to get off the couch and run 10K, their first 10K. We'll be able to help you. Could be an Ironman athlete wanting to qualify for Kona. We'll help you. So yeah, we're just going through the finer details of what it's going to look like, but excited. We've got heaps of cool people we've helped in the past that have sort of provided us with plenty of endorsement and support. You know, you've mentioned a few of them, Hamish, Dougal. So we've got plenty of people that have said, hey, you know, what we do is beneficial. So it's exciting. We're going to have plenty of educational material on there to try and dispel some of the myths out there around strength training and health. So looking forward to it. So Race Ready Endurance will be our Instagram handle. So yeah, get in touch and we'll reach out.
I'll get a link in the description here. But yeah, I couldn't think of a better thing for you to be doing. Like as I mentioned at the beginning of this, like you reached out to me about my knee. Never asked for any sort of like financial reward or compensation. Like you just legitimately could see that I enjoyed running and wanted to help me get better.
Well, I think that's the key, right? The key is like as we, especially I want to say the sort of the 30-year-old plus, like most of us think we can train like we did when we were 20, and you can't. And I think that we can keep exercising and be healthy for a long, long time if we just do the right stuff. And the biggest thing is trying to help people. I just want to help people. A lot of knowledge and experience I just want to pass on to people, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money or any money. And that's the cool thing, is that we've got enough people, enough resources around that. Whether that's Q&As, whether that's questions on Instagram, whether that's just some free educational material, we'll be throwing lots of stuff out there to help people of all ages to try and stay race ready for endurance performance, whether that's swim, bike, run, whether it's kayaking, swimming, surf, lifesaving, whatever it is, we want to help.
I love that. Oh, you're going to be great. All right, Dr. Nic Gill. Does everyone call you doctor? Do you write when you travel? Do you write doctor on your departure card?
No, because I'm not a medical doctor. But no, I don't use that at all anymore. I think when you first get your doctorate, you use it as often as you can for about 2 years, and then it just disappears. I don't even put letters after my name anymore. It's just Gilly as far as I'm concerned. So no doctor. Thanks, Tom.
If I was you, I'd be making all the All Blacks call me Doc.
No, thanks.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thank you so much for your time, man. It's been so awesome to sit down and pick your brains. What a career. And still going. 4 more years to go in the current role.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me, Dom. Cheers, mate.